One
Yeah,
of the first
maybe this year.
dates that my husband and I went on was actually watching the Mitt Romney documentary that he did on Netflix that came out like several months after the election. And it was this night and day difference in how he was portrayed, because he was like human. He was a family man. He showed emotions, you know, nerves before the debate, excitement before a different poll. They showed him I think they showed him crying afterward. They showed how much he relied on his wife, how much he adored her, how much he respected her viewpoints. And the contrast between the human aspect of Mitt Romney that was portrayed so well in that documentary, his family, his sons, how they felt, their roles in the campaign, their dynamic as a family, compared with his very buttoned up, very proper, very reserved, very misperceived, I guess, I don't even know, demeanor during the campaign, how he didn't fight back against all of these false accusations against him. I remember saying to my brand new boyfriend at the time, man, if they had done that documentary 6 months ago, that guy would be president right now, because he actually was so likable and it was so touching of a documentary. Not just because I'm a Republican, because I was like, sure, I'll vote for you, but I wasn't like diehard excited to vote for this kind of squishy Republican. And I wish the Trump campaign would actually do the same thing, because those of us who know Trump know that he is very compassionate, and he's compassionate in the way, believe it or not, I know some people are going to laugh at this, but he's compassionate in the way that we all should be. And that is, he's not showy about it. If someone is telling him a hard story, he is present. He looks right into your eyes, he listens, and he has a very compassionate response, both verbally, physically, and depending on how he can help politically. And yet oftentimes that's overlooked because you see him fighting other political enemies on stage, or you see him blasting out these tweets. But this guy is respected by his family. I know he has instability in his past, and that's true. No one's justifying, that or claiming that it's right or wrong. Or actually, I am claiming that it's wrong, but no one's claiming that it's right. But now his family is incredibly stable. Now his children surround him all the time. His grandchildren know him, which is one of the ways I judge whether someone's present to their family, because you don't have to be present to your grandchildren. His grandchildren respect him and adore him. His children are present and supportive. This guy, if he would let a camera, a friendly camera, come in Mar-a-Lago and come to a family dinner, show him playing golf with his granddaughter, show him, looking at the homework of his young grandsons, like this would show an aspect of him, a side of him that is real, exists, but is deliberately overlooked by the media.
I think that's a brilliant idea. And there's no reason why they can't show that side of him and show that he's a fighter, because neither you nor I are saying that he shouldn't be tough and that he can't be Trump, because there's a lot of people that love that side of him. I want my president to be a fighter. I heard that Ana Navarro said at the DNC, we need a president who's going to embrace us in a big hug. No, I don't need a president who's going to hug me. I think that's really weird. And by the way, that would not be Kamala Harris. Like, she's not even that person at all. But so I want a fighter. I like that about Trump. But yeah, seeing that human aspect of him, doing that's a great idea. Doing drop an episode on YouTube every week of basically like a reality show for Trump, as you said, totally friendly, and just show these different moments. I think that's a great idea. I don't know if they'll run with that, but you should pitch that somewhere.
I would watch
awesome.
that.
Same with Trump and Vance. Same with Vance.
Yeah.
Vance, show them with his wife, and if they'll show their kids, show them with their kids. I think that would be really sweet, because I do get the feeling that, Trump, JD and his wife have like a very sweet, normal marriage, relationship, family dynamic. I love that. I think that's super relatable. So I think that's a really good idea.
Right, and they're both such interesting people, JD and his wife, who they're really the embodiment of the American dream, and to show that is not only relatable for voters, it's heartwarming. Like, this is actually what our country is all about. People would love to see that. Even the haters who tuned in just to hate, like, there's going to be some people that tuned in to hate and actually come away a little bit softened. I would like that, but that's just me. That's just me. I don't know if you guys would like that.
There's no stories, like you mentioned the stories about Trump. Like, people have so many stories about him over the years, way before he was a politician, just like being generous, being charitable, giving them a call when he didn't have to, paying attention to the people he didn't have to pay attention to. And look, I am not saying that the man is Jesus. I'm not saying that the man is pastor at all. But I am saying that is one aspect of him that is, whether, I don't know if he's a Christian or not, but that is Christ-like. Because, when I look at the Gospels and I see Jesus paying attention to the people that he didn't have to pay attention to, that just goes to show that even someone who's rough and tumble like Trump, like, he does have that like soft compassion in him that I think is great. I'm sorry, but I've never heard a story like that about Kamala Harris, ever. I've never heard someone, and you know that we would hear them if they were there. You know that someone from her past would have come forward and said, when I was down on my luck, Kamala Harris was there for me. She was a great friend. She is always there to lend an ear. She's been charitable. She's been generous. She went out of her way to help me. I have never heard a story like that. And that's saying something when you have a media that is completely serving her and trying to make her look good. All I've ever heard from her is that she is ruthless. When you are no longer serving her, she will push you out of the way, like Willie Brown, and that she's really tough to work with, and that she's really a nightmare in the office. And so it's like these people who are saying, oh, Kamala is Christ-like and Trump is mean. I'm like, what are you even comparing? You're comparing like a fluffy article about her in the New York Times to like the worst of the worst things you're hearing about Donald Trump. Actually, I think when you look at both of their lives and who emulates the Beatitudes more, if you even want to make that comparison, which I don't think you have to, I'm not sure Kamala Harris comes out on top.
No, I don't think so. And here's my controversial opinion on Kamala Harris. There have been a lot of conservatives who are like, hey, don't talk about the Willie Brown stuff. Don't talk about the reality. This is not just a rumor. This is not gossip. The reality that she slept her way into politics. That was confirmed by the 60-year-old man that she had an affair with. He was married. She was 29 years old. There are some conservatives who say don't talk about that because that's just distasteful, especially given the fact that Donald Trump was married multiple times before he was married to Melania. There are people who say that Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, who impregnated his daughter's nanny when she was in elementary school, who was also the elementary school teacher, leading to the breakup of his marriage, leading to divorce, which means the breakup of their family. This woman had to flee to New York. There are conservatives who say we shouldn't talk about this because this is personal attacks. We should just keep it to political policy. I completely disagree. I do think there's a nuance on who the messenger is, who the proper one, or who is best suited to talk about these topics. But these are very important topics because they demonstrate to us what these people, what their character is, and what they're willing to do to achieve their political goals. And then we get to, okay, well, their political goals are destructive. And if they're willing to give up everything, every moral, every principle to achieve their political goals, which are immoral, they're a dangerous person to have in charge of our country.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's important, even if it's just to say, okay, look, we've got two flawed people, because people, you know, they come to us all the time and they say, well, Trump did X, Y, Z. Look how degenerate his past is, which both you and I would say, yeah, of course, we don't even believe in divorce. Like, those are bad things. But then it's at least good to point out, okay, but you've got all of these flaws and all of this chaos and disorder on Kamala's side too. All right, we've got two morally flawed people. Can we at least agree on that? So if we agree on that, if we really can go tit for tat with them on like who is worse and who's done worse things in their past, then at that point we have to say, all right, we've got two morally flawed people. What policies do they represent? So I think it's important in that aspect, and also important to show, even just past the promiscuity stuff, which has its own problems, but it shows who Kamala Harris is. It shows a pattern too in her behavior from the very beginning, because after she had that affair with Willie Brown, it is well documented that she had this sexual relationship with him for political favors. Some people say that that's not proven. It's talked about. Like, it's widely talked about. He even talks about that.
Willie Brown himself said, yes, I appointed her to a certain board with a certain amount of money paid to her, like, because I was having an affair with her.
That's called prostitution, which is weird. But then when she actually became district attorney, he says in the San Francisco Chronicle that she wrote him a letter that says, basically, never talk to me, and if you so much as jaywalk, I'm going to put you in jail. Like, she is ruthless. She is cruel. She used him, abused him, got what she wanted, and then she moved on from there. And of course, we know when she was AG of California, what she did to pro-lifers, trying to force pregnancy centers to advertise for abortion, raiding David Daleidon's home rather than investigating Planned Parenthood when it looked like Planned Parenthood was doing a pay-for-play thing with baby body parts. I mean, she is a cruel person. She is bloodthirsty. She will sacrifice every single one of your freedoms on the altar of the LGBTQ and abortion lobbies. And so if you want to look past the personal stuff, which, as you said, does matter to an extent, who she is politically is not the kind of person you want anywhere near the White House. Of course, not as vice president, but certainly not as president.